Welcome to EJ British Cars. Sorry about the buzzing in the background, but the neighbors are working in their yard and I really can't complain because I make plenty of grinding noises, so we'll just kind of have to live with that. Anyway, this last week I sent the gas tank off and had it prepped and repaired, including some work that I did. So we sent it out originally and had it hot tanked, and also it had not had any fuel in it for 20 plus years. So they hot tanked it, and then I brought it home and I welded in a couple of steel patches because it had rotted out near the drain hole on the very bottom. Put a piece of a heavy sheet metal over it, welded it in, ground it off smooth, made sure there weren't any pinholes, took it back to the welding shop, or the radiator shop, and there was a line of pinholes across the bottom where it sits on a piece of felt on this step in the trunk that goes over the rear axle. So they did that, and then I brought it back here and I used some stuff that they recommended called overcoat. So it's OVER hyphen KOTE, and it's an external gas tank sealant paint. So it's quite viscous. It's about the consistency of watered down toothpaste, kind of. And it's got fibers in it. It's black. And one can, which was a pint, which I got on eBay from Damon, DAMONQ. Weird name. Anyway, got it on eBay. Guy in California was selling it. It took a couple of days to get here, so that was great. And I put 2 really heavy coats on it. So the can says it only has a shelf life of about 2 months once you open it. And it takes about half a can to do the tank. And I can't see any gas tanks I'm going to do in the next 2 months, so I just put it on super heavy. So it's not that pretty because it's kind of lumpy. But then again, you never see it again. So that's done. The radiator shop pressure tested it and all that, so everything's good. Made up a new lower fitting, so that's a 5/16 brake line with an olive and a brass nut with threaded, it looks like a brake line end kind of. And then it has a banjo fitting on the top, which is a 1/2 inch. It's a 1/2 thread. It's a 1/2 inch banjo fitting, and that's for the vent. So I was going to put it in the car, and I just thought I'd go over it quick and let you see. So let's get started. The other thing I did this week was start working on the bonnet. So I stripped it, and boy, it was messed up. It looks like somebody sat on it. This is upside down right now, right there. This whole center section was pushed down. These step downs were bent in, so when you pushed it back, it oil canned like crazy because they had tension in it. It was a mess. At least there wasn't any rot on it and no crumple damage. But like I say, somebody either sat on it or put something heavy on it. Who knows? And the other weird thing, I never realized about these, but this rear edge is just the edge of the sheet metal. It's not got, because usually like on a fender, it's got a rolled edge with a wire, or like this front edge, it's folded over and catches this brace. This is just raw. The only thing I really think of, I know like on XKEs, this end is wild and you trim it to fit each car because they just never got the dies close enough that they didn't have to do that. This made me wonder. And then it also has 2 copper rivets, one here, one there. That's all that attaches this brace to that skin, other than this weld right here. Matter of fact, you can see how wide that gap is. And of course, when you put the hinges go through here, that'll clamp together too. But it's just kind of odd, and there's no central bracing. It's like in the bonnet or the trunk lid. There's an X brace through here, and most hoods that you see have some kind of fore to aft bracing, but this does not. So just a bit odd. Anyway, I digress. So this is the trunk of the car, and I picked this up at Rimmers. This is a piece of kind of feels synthetic. It may not be, but it's a heavy felt. It's about a 1/2 inch thick. And it goes up here for the gas tank to rest on, and that's where all the pinholes were. This gas tank has a step in it, and this is where the drain goes. This is where the outlet goes. And of course the fuel filler will go there. This is the new outlet pipe. So I bent this to match the one that was in it. The other one hadn't rusted through, but the inside was really messy. So I just went ahead and made a new one. And then this is the fitting that it's got. I think this is the same as a brake line fitting because they both have a little taper, and then of course a new olive. So that goes on there. So here's one of the straps. It's just the original one. It's cleaned up and painted. And it calls for a felt to go under this edge here, which I didn't see available. But I have this closed cell foam insulation. It's about, I don't know, 1/8 inch, 5/16 thick. And I'm just going to take some contact adhesive and glue it on here just so it won't shift around. So I'm going to get those ready, and then we'll put the tank. Well, here's the straps with the rubber attached. And you notice that the straps, because these were on the car originally, they have a tapered side and basically a square side. And if you look at the tank, you'll see that there's a tapered side and a square side. So the square side is the side that goes towards the boot, and this is the side that goes towards the driver's compartment. Now, I left that plug in, but I took the pipe out, and I also took a 3/8 fine tap and cleaned out the holes because they were kind of rusty. If you remember, we had to actually transfer these nuts from the old trunk floor to this one, and of course the ones in the front are just these are all original, but those are original on the original floor, and these are original but moved. And I'm just laying that piece of felt in loose. I'm going to try and put it in with it curled over that edge because it is wider than that shelf. Whether that'll fit like that, I don't know, but I'm going to try. One thing I hadn't thought about is you need these foam seals. This one, the bigger hole goes around the drain, and this one goes around the outlet for the tank. And we'll also have an extra hole in here. The overflow shows it just going over here. But what I like to do is bring the overflow that way, so when the gasoline pushes this way in a left-hand turn, it has to go uphill to get out, and if it's going in a right-hand turn, it's not coming up into the overflow. So in my other TRs, I found that works a lot better. And then these I'm just going to sit around the bungs in the tank. So I brought the tank in from the cockpit side. Brought it in. I did have to take the bung out of the drain to get enough clearance to get it in, and the tabs that are on the saddle here that hold the cardboard for the back of the interior, just sort of push them up a little bit. And with a bit of luck, and a little bit of force, it'll pop in here. The tab on the other side is holding it up. Alright, so that's rolled in. And make sure that the tank bungs went through the holes in those foam pieces. Since the center one wasn't tight enough to stay, the other one sort of stayed on by itself. And then I'm going to slide this piece of felt in. We're going to need our straps. Remember that the angle side goes forward. Hopefully we can just sneak these in through the side. On this side, we want to make sure that the tank is centered left to right. We'll do by lining the fill hole through the saddle. So I used the short screws on the trunk side. I got some extra long ones to get these started on this side, so they're not quite reaching. So I think those are 1-inch screws. Those are 1.25 inches from the factory. And I suppose with the new felt underneath and everything else, everything's kind of, I'm about 1/4 inch short of reaching the hole, so I'm going to try that. Well, it was a struggle, but I got it in. I wound up having to use longer bolts here to get them to reach to be able to pull the straps down. So I mean, it's hard to think that this is taking up more room than a felt spacer would, but perhaps the felt was really thin, or maybe it was only the top, I don't know. Of course, they don't touch along the edges. But anyhow, it's in. The filler hole is pretty much centered up. There is that new sending unit I was talking about earlier. And I used the original bolts in the back. Those are the shorter ones. So I struggled with this quite a while. One of the nuts I had to helicoil it, and then that pulled out. It didn't pull a whole helicoil out. I don't think you can really do that, but it pulled the first couple of bits up trying to get in. I probably had it sticking up maybe 1 curl beyond, which was probably a mistake, but anyway, I got more. So it's in. It's firm. It's padded. I got the felt underneath. Definitely put the tank in, get the rear bolt started, then put the felt in, because there's just no point in fighting the felt on all 4 bolts. I used bolts in the front that were 1.5 inches instead of 1.25 inches. This is one of the stock ones, and it was 1/4 inch longer than that. So, you know, I may try, after this is set and it had a chance to compress, I may take that bolt out and then see if it's going to be tight all the way or if it'll slack off a little bit, and then I'll put the original bolts in. But if not, you know, it's not that big a deal. I'm just being fussy. One more thing I found handy, that when I was having the bolt in there, that the bolt goes in a lot deeper than the thickness of the head. So I just put a thin, like a locking nut, or this is actually a 5/16 nut, and this is a 9/16 socket, so it's one size too small. And that put the bolt that I was trying to push down flush with here. So I picked up that extra 1/4 inch of push, which was the only way I got that in. So just a little cheater trip. You can either use a 3/8 half height nut, or just use a 5/16. So of course, every time you turn it over, it falls out. So it's kind of a pain in the butt, but it'll get you that little bit of extra oomph. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. That was something a little different. It was supposed to be something pretty easy I could knock off in, in an hour, and I spent all afternoon on it, which I suppose that's not that big a surprise. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.